Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my June reading vlog. Happy Pride Month, woo 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 woo. Unfortunately, I won't be reading a lot of books that fit to the theme of Pride Month. I'm just reading whatever I want. So I already have some updates. The first book that I'll be reading this month will be contributing to my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime poster, and that's The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. His name is Francis. I am 50 pages into it so far, and so far he has said Old Sport 5 times, so I'm looking forward to more Old Sport. The second book that I've already started is called Black Chalk by Christopher J. Yates. It has been a book in the dark academia genre. People don't like, but I have a death wish, and I want to read as many academic thrillers as I can, so I am about 60 pages into that so far, and it is a chore. People were right. Maybe I should listen to people, but why would I do that? So that's my update for now. Hello everybody, update time! It's incredibly hot out, and it has been for the past couple of days, so pardon me if I'm a bit sluggy. So I finished The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I gave it 2 stars because they only said Old Sport 44 times, and I wanted way more Old Sport to happen. Next, I finished Black Chalk by Christopher J. Yates, and I gave that one 1 star. That book was so weak, so bad, and so boring that I'm actually pretty mad at it. Now, I understand it was his debut novel, so there were going to be a lot of shortcomings that come from that, such as one particular pet peeve of mine is that all of the characters, when they were talking to people, would always say their name. So, for example, one of the characters' names was Chad. So whoever spoke to him would turn to him and say, "Chad, don't do this." And he'd go, "I'm sorry, Jack." And they'd go, "Chad, please don't do it." And he'd go, "Jack, I have to." Stuff like that. It was just way too constant referring to people by their name. I don't actually say people's names that much. It's just a way to get out of the whole pronoun debacle, which I understand is a problem for writers, but it's an easy one to fix. You just have to be good at writing. So as a nice break in between those two pretty weak books, I am reading The Gravity of Us by Phil Stamper, and it's pretty cute so far. It's about a boy who is famous on social media moving to Texas because his father gets hired to work for NASA to go to Mars, and he meets a boy of another potential astronaut, and it's pretty cute so far. I have yet to properly connect to anybody, but I hope that the story gets more developed and I am more compelled as it goes on. I matched the cover, cute! That's it for now. I got juiced! I got juiced! Pfizer, baby! Woo! Hello, just a mini update for now. I just wanted to say that I finished The Gravity of Us by Phil Stamper, and I'm giving it 3 stars. While it was very cute, very sweet, and had a pretty solid plot, I still just did not feel very compelled by the characters or what was happening in the story. So it was cute for what it was, and I'm glad I read it, but it was not my favorite book. My pets keep interrupting me, so if there is anything else I wanted to say, here's the clip to do it in. Next, I have been listening to the audiobook of the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. It's a very long title. So far, I am 70% into it, and I normally don't like vampire horror stories. I don't like when the vampire is the monster. I prefer when they are the character. But It's all right so far. It's greatly reminding me of a show that I'm actually coincidentally going through right now, which is True Blood. I just finished season 3 and will be starting season 4 very soon. But I think it's funny that they are very, very similar. They're both set in the South, they both have vampires, they both discuss race and predatory behavior and not trusting people in your little like southern neighborhood. So I think that was very interesting parallels. And I'm glad I was watching True Blood while listening to the audiobook because the audiobook contains a lot of very awful, grotesque, gory, and heavy themes that I particularly don't like in my books. But watching True Blood has helped me desensitize myself from being wholly disgusted because this show is vile. So I will be finishing that audiobook soon. It is not my favorite type of book in the genre. Oh well, and I do know what happens at the end. Thankfully, I was able to read a proper warning, so I will discuss that further as I finish the book, but I really do not like horror writers who rely on just disgusting, gory writing and harm against women because I don't particularly enjoy reading that. So that's my update for now. Hello there. Sorry if you can hear the rain outside, but it's just a very rainy day. So I finished the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix, and I think I gave it 3.5 stars. And I enjoyed the book for the most part, but it was too heavy-handed with all of the horrible, violent, gory imagery and sexual assault of women and children. So it's not my favorite thing I've ever read, but I am glad that I branched out and tried a genre that I don't normally gravitate towards. So that's a win in itself, but I don't know if I will read any more of the author's books because they don't really interest me. And now I am reading Lore by Alexandra Bracken. It is this YA book about how the Greek gods all got killed, and the people who killed them are the gods now, and once a week every 7 years, they can turn mortal so then other people can kill them and replace them. It's very complicated. I am having a very hard time getting into it despite the fact that it's skewed for a younger audience, and I just think that it is trying way too hard for something like this. It's very difficult to try and create such a new idea under the umbrella of Greek myth. While it is fluid, it is also very ingrained in people's heads, and they don't particularly want to see much change to it. They expect exactly what they came for in Greek myth. Percy Jackson so far has been the only series to do this properly, but that is just due to the talents of the writer. I do appreciate that this author is trying to do something new, so I'm still giving it a equal shot. But so far, it's very difficult to get into. So that's my update for now. Alrighty, another update. So I finished Lore by Alexandra Bracken. If I didn't explain this already, that is a YA novel based on Greek myth where humans have the ability to kill gods because they turn mortal 1 week every 7 years, and if they kill that god, they get to be that god, but then the cycle starts again. Anyway, I gave that book 2 stars because it was just way too much to get into. It was way too complicated. I didn't feel compelled, interested, or nor did I care about any of the characters. All of their dialogue was either explanation or exposition, and there was no room for any character in it. The main couple was pretty weak. Their only thing that showed they had chemistry was telling each other corny jokes, which, like, I'm already listening to the Crush series, and that's the only thing that those two characters have in common. Why would I want to read it here? Also, they have a habit of kissing each other to try and calm each other down, which is a terrible method. Do not kiss somebody who is having a panic attack or who has just developed phenomenal cosmic power and could kill you. It's bad, guys. but I can see where the author was trying to create something new and had ideas and was clearly very passionate about those ideas. So I don't hate the book. I'm not going to not recommend it to you. Try it out if you want. I just personally couldn't get into it. In my opinion, it was written like an urban fantasy without having the main drive of what an urban fantasy is, usually solving a mystery or figuring something out or trying to meet a goal. It was just them trying to survive, and I don't find that particularly compelling. Plus, all the names of the families and all the names of the new gods were way too confusing. I would have just loved to have seen the old Greek gods and interact with them. Also, spoiler alert, they tried to do a twist where Athena was secretly a bad guy. Yeah, no shit, dude. She punished Medusa for getting raped for no reason. I hate Athena. Okay, that's it for now. Alrighty, it is finally wrap-up time. If you can hear all of my pets around me, no you can't. So I read 6 books this month, and I talked about 5 of them in great detail, so I will only really be discussing one in a bit more depth right now. So the first book I read was for my 100 Epic Reads poster, and I read The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, which I only gave 2 stars. Old sport, 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 old sport. The next book that I read was Black Chalk by Christopher J. Yates, which I gave 1 star, which was one of the worst, most frustratingly weak books that I have ever read, and I would not recommend that book to anybody, no matter how badly they want to complete their dark academia genre list on Goodreads. I then read The Gravity of Us by Phil Stamper, which I gave 3.5 stars. It was very cute and very sweet, and I really liked how the story came along, but I just was not that compelled by the characters, nor did I feel properly connected to them. I then listened to the audiobook of The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix, and I gave that one, I believe, 3 stars as well. I thought more about it after listening to it, and I still don't like horror as a genre per se, but I am still glad that I took a chance with it and read the book, tried it for myself, and saw another way that a vampire could be utilized in a story, because the 1980s fear of people coming into your house and taking your children was a very real one, and it was cool to be in that setting, in that historical period, and experiencing that along with the characters. It was a very unique and interesting book. I just didn't particularly like the gross, gory, and harmful details of it. I then read Lore by Alexandra Bracken, and I believe I only gave that one 2 stars. It tried so hard to be this big, epic thing. It was trying really hard to be urban fantasy, but it didn't capture the elements that are needed for an urban fantasy, and so it came across very weak. It was all exposition and explanation. There was no proper character, and the relationship dynamic was not enough to keep me compelled. So that book tried really, really hard to do something unique with Greek myth, which I do, value in my books, but I just didn't like it. And the final book that I read for the month, I actually finished yesterday. I was listening to the audiobook of The Silver Kiss by Annette Curtis Klaus. It is the story of a teenage girl named Zoe, whose mother is dying of cancer, as well as her best friend is moving to a different state, and she meets a vampire named Simon, who needs her help in defeating his villainous older brother. This book was very, very good. It's very short. It was only 6 hours for the audiobook, and I would highly recommend it as for somebody who is only just getting into YA paranormal romance. A lot of people compare it to Twilight just because it is a teenage vampire and a human girl falling in love, but there is way more in it than actually Twilight in such a short amount of space. It has very good themes, very good descriptions. You feel compelled the entire time, even though the book skews young and is so short. This is the same author as Blood and Chocolate, which I read earlier this year about werewolves, and this book had a lot less themes that I felt uncomfortable with, and I was able to enjoy this book much more. The more I think about it, the more I actually did like Blood and Chocolate. It just has a few things that I would not want to recommend to other viewers so lightly. So that was my month. I apologize for such a short video and for such little content involved, but it was a very blah month and also a very busy month at the same time. The weather really affected me. It went from cold to hot to rainy to hot way too quickly. So thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next month. Bye.